Hi, everyone.
Hello again. It was one of the shocks that we received within the first 5 years of our emergence from the Watchtower to find out that the problem we'd identified as a Jehovah's Witness problem, namely the failure to acknowledge that there are teachers outside your sect, that Christ has given great teachers to the church over all the centuries since the first, that weakness we found in the churches that we were now attending. That is, nobody seemed to be aware of even the names of these teachers that were now precious to us because we were in the book business already. And we were finding volumes, some of which we'll show you in a minute, that were precious to us because we had no idea these books existed. So we get into the Protestant world and we find out most Protestants don't know they exist. Then we go to other churches and meet Catholics and Orthodox people, and lo and behold, everybody doesn't know these guys exist. So we did a booklet, and we'll put in the description, we'll put a link to the booklet, which is now on our website, onewonders.org. The booklet was entitled He Gave Teachers, and it had an introduction which detailed to some extent how I came to leave the Watchtower and the role that books had in getting me out. And a list at the end of the booklet of the teachers that we come to acknowledge that were celebrated and treasured by all of Christendom. That is, across denominational lines, these teachers tend to penetrate. Now, of course, that therefore becomes a major problem. If you don't know that you need teachers, then you're in no position to obey what Paul says here. This is 1 Timothy, chapter 5, verse 17. Let the elders who rule well be considered worthy of double honor, especially those who labor in preaching and teaching. Double honor, and when we check that in the commentaries, has to do with not just giving honor to, that is, giving worth to people, double worth here, but also giving them a stipend, i.e., supporting them financially for the work that they're doing.
Because they are blessing you. They're laboring for you.
So if the churches have a problem, and we haven't changed our minds on this in 30-something years now, if the churches have a problem getting along together and Christians understanding each other, it's primarily because they're not listening to the great teachers, those who take the lead in laboring in preaching and teaching.
I think at least for me, it was trauma that made me see the importance of knowing what the teachers say myself. So if you're merrily going along without any trauma, I think that's why you also find the same problem in the church. It's when you come to the point where you see the value of knowing what the teachers say yourself.
Now, it could be said and should be said that, yes, the problem isn't fatal as it is with the cults, where they totally sever themselves from what Christ has done in the past.
Yeah.
Including, of course, the great teachers that are available endlessly in reprint.
Yeah.
But the churches have a problem. Maybe it's not fatal, but it is deleterious to their health.
Yeah.
And it's also deleterious to their relationship with each other because they misunderstand the other person's point of view. And we found a humility in the teachers that we did not find in a lot of the pastors and local church people.
So the basis is different. For us as witnesses, it was, don't read them. They're no good.
Poisonous.
But for Christians, I think it's probably the tendency more is laziness. Let someone else do the work and then talk about what they learn.
But it does create the problem that you have in cults in an extreme way, which is dependence upon the cult leaders.
Yeah.
In churches, you tend to depend on, well, not elders, as you read here, but on pastors and priests in the Catholic tradition. You tend to depend on them for your insights. And if they're not good readers, if they're not in touch with the teachers, you're really in trouble.
Yeah.
I see you have a box in your hand.
I have this wonderful thing that came in the mail. So just showing you how big it is and heavy, very heavy. This came in the mail, and nothing brings more delight to my husband's heart than a box that he knows contains books that comes in the mail. So this came just recently in the mail. So in the last month or so, we've received 2 nice boxes of books.
This one from an old friend in the Maritimes called Aune, And the one I'm going to show you after, the results of which are from another old friend in the Maritimes, Václav, both of whom know we love books.
Yes.
So they did this to us.
Yes. So thank you both.
Thanks,
very
Alan
much.
and Václav, for sending these wonderful tools along.
So while David shows you some other things, I'll open the box for David, and
But
I'll let him pull the books out.
she wouldn't let me open the box until I said I'll do it on camera.
Yeah. I want you to share in our joy. Okay.
So I knew of the author of the books that are in this box. I know who they are. That's this fella, David Aune. It's spelled A-U-N-E, but pronounced, I believe, Aune. David Aune is a Lutheran scholar who teaches, it, interestingly enough, at Notre Dame University, a Catholic university in the United States. So that's a sign of the progress that we have made in breaking down denominational barriers over the last 50 or so years since Vatican II, when the Catholic Church decided to change its point of view in respect to other religions, or not just the Protestants and the Orthodox outside their community and the Christian community, but also towards light from outside sources. So David Aune, I had this book already, although I admit I've never yet read it, but I will now. Prophecy in Early Christianity. This was from around 40 years ago, when he was still a relatively young man of about 40. He's now in his 80s.
You can actually slide them out now.
Easier said than done.
Oh, okay. They're packed nicely.
They're packed
tightly.
tight.
If you get one out, you'll get them all out.
10 pounds of books, but it won't come out of a box.
Do you want me to help you?
I think you better do it there. I think it might need some more slicing, but be careful.
Yeah, I don't want to. Okay, just a minute.
Just a minute.
Okay, there
That
you go.
did it. Old masculine brutality.
Yeah.
Oh, look at this.
Beautiful.
Oh, 3 volumes. The Word Biblical Commentary on Revelation. Boy, the average here is about, they're about 300 to 400 pages a piece.
Wow.
So we've got, oh boy, 1,340 pages altogether. Thank you, Alan.
Yes.
I will treasure these. The coincidence here, providence, I think, is just a month ago I was researching commentaries to buy on Revelation, and he's in the top 3 or 4. So I can't express my appreciation to Alan for sending them along, and I'm not giving them back.
Yeah.
So here is what our friend Václav sent along.
Well, you put them on the bottom.
Here's what Václav sent along to us. I didn't even know these existed. J.B. Lightfoot on Acts, and J.B. Lightfoot on 2 Corinthians and 1 Peter. What happened here, I read in the preface, was that Ben Witherington, who is now a famous New Testament teacher himself at Asbury Seminary in Kentucky, Ben Witherington was at Durham Cathedral Library about 10 years ago and discovered this cache of documents, original hand-scroll documents of Lightfoot. Nobody knew these things, well, very, very few people knew that such a thing existed. And he finds extensive notes on the book of Acts and 2 Corinthians and...
So there were projects he was working on before he died, eh?
Yeah, this is things that Lightfoot was working on. He died at the age of 61 in 1889. And in the last decade of his life, he was the Bishop of Durham. That's why the books are now not where he wrote them, in Cambridge University. They were in the University of Durham. No, sorry, Durham Cathedral Library. So Witherington, just 10 years ago, finds these notes, all in Lightfoot's own hand, and puts it together in printed form. So we have now, not complete, but 3/4 of the book of Acts dealt with in this particular volume. Also notes on John, That's in another volume. And this one on 2 Corinthians and 1 Peter. This set is called the Lightfoot Legacy Set. Now, Lightfoot was probably by common consent, the greatest New Testament scholar in the English world, about 140 years ago. These have been part of my library since those days when we first left the Watchtower. His 3 commentaries that he completed, one on Galatians, one on Philippians, and one on Colossians and Philemon. So they've been part of my basic library for 35 years. But then, in the last 10 years, when he was working as Bishop of Durham, in his part-time, this is what he was doing. The Apostolic Fathers, 5 volumes in Greek. This is what he did as a hobby.
Yeah, translate.
And without such men who would give their lives, and sometimes it's often said that Lightfoot died too soon because he worked himself to death, as did his colleague Fenton Hort from Cambridge.
They had a love for Scripture.
They had a love for Scripture, and we don't honor such men. So again, the Scripture says that we should honor our local elders, yes, but especially those elders among us who labor in preaching and teaching. And we have seen over and over again that such men are not honored in the church. Oftentimes their names are not even remembered.
Yeah, not enough reading going on.
So thanks again to Václav and to Alan for sending these treasures along.
Yes,
that
thank
we
you.
will both use, right?
Yes, for sure.
I wanted to put a link into that document we just mentioned, which is on the website, onewonders.org. In the PDF archive, there's a document called He Gave Teachers, which has that list of over 100 famous teachers of the church. And Lightfoot's among them, but when I wrote that list 25 or so years ago, I didn't know David Aune yet. So if we're revising that list, David Aune's going to go on it.
Yeah.
And the playlist that goes along with that would be...
He Gave Teachers, not...
It's not. That's not the playlist, though. So I'll think of a good playlist.
Basic Christian Library, maybe?
Basic Christian Library.
Okay.
Oh, no. The one I wanted to put on, and I forgot all about, was... Forget it.
He'll put it on. You'll see.
Maybe it'll even be 2 of them.
Okay.
See you next time.
Bye.